Let's start with good news. And President Biden spoke yesterday, and he spoke about Afghan allies, interpreters, and evacuating them to a third country. You're involved in that. You have been doing a lot of work for that. What's the latest, and which third country we are referring to?
Well, the administration hasn't shared a lot of details, but for the last several weeks, I've been asking the administration for three things in particular. One, a detailed plan, including how they're going to get Afghan interpreters and other allies from different parts of the country to a central evacuation point. Two, a commander for this overall operation, so we know who's accountable and who's in charge. And then three, a commitment to see the mission through to completion. Yesterday at the press conference, President Biden clearly mentioned all three, so he was responding to my requests and the requests of others who have called for a more detailed plan. Now, we still need to see the details of this plan and understand questions like yours, exactly where people will go. But I was thrilled that the president clearly responded to our requests, and things are obviously in motion.
There are also news about taking these people to third country like Central Asian countries, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, or Kazakhstan, or Guam. There is no finalized plan that where they will be taken into safety, because we have 40 days we are talking about, when August 31st is very close, and how soon it can be done.
Well, time is very short. You're right. And that is why when the Secretary of Defense came before the House Armed Services Committee, my first question to him was, why have you not started this evacuation already? So we need to hurry up. The president, I think, expressed some renewed sense of urgency, but every day that goes by is lost time. And so you can count on myself and others in Congress, especially this bipartisan group of veterans who's been fighting so hard to take care of our friends and allies. You can count on us to keep pressing the administration and ensure that this starts as quickly as possible and that it gets completed.
President Biden also referred to the law and the way the visa is processed. He said the Congress has to change the law. So is there any way that the Congress will look into that, and what will be, how fast it can be as well? Like if there is any way to change the law for bringing them here, like visas, there's a process involved.
Well, we've already passed some changes to the special immigrant visa process and the laws that regulate it through the House of Representatives. They need to be passed by the Senate. But at the end of the day, the SIV process really doesn't move quickly enough, no matter how much we reform it. And that's why I've been specifically calling for an evacuation. That continues to be our demand. And so while we can make reforms to the SIV process, and that's all well and good, what we need right now is an evacuation. And that's what we will keep pressing the administration to begin.
Taliban officials were in Tehran and now in Russia. They were also having a press conference, and they somehow claim that they control 85% of Afghanistan territory, while Afghan forces are fighting them back and pushing them back of these districts, especially capitals of the provinces. How do you see this capacity of Afghan forces, as President referred to, that they can fight back the Taliban and protect Afghan people?
Well, the president expressed a lot of confidence in the Afghan security forces, and he detailed how many we've trained and how they outnumber the Taliban. But I fully expect this to be a difficult fight, and we're going to have to count on the courage and bravery of the Afghan national security forces to take on the Taliban in places where the Taliban is trying to overrun the government.
Yeah, so also President Biden pledged long-term support for Afghan people, and he said that we will be involved through humanitarian help and helping Afghan people. But there were so many critics of his speech about the withdrawal plan. What's your thoughts about it overall? How was the speech for Afghan people?
Well, he clearly was responding to a lot of concerns from the Afghan people and from interpreters and their families, and those of us in Congress who have been advocating for producing detailed plans about how to make sure that we uphold our commitments to Afghanistan and to the Afghan people. So the president offered some more details, and he talked about how we will have a continued diplomatic presence in Afghanistan, about how we will continue to support the Afghan security forces and other things. But I think with all of this, we all want to see more details, and we'll be continuing to press for those in the coming weeks and months.
So President Biden also rejected some reports of national security assessments saying that they are suggesting that Afghan government will collapse in 6 months. How do you see the future of Afghan government, and do you think there should be any kind of like contingency plan to protect at least the achievements happened in the past 20 years?
Look, I think that we have to have contingency plans for every eventuality here. This is obviously a difficult situation. The president mentioned how, if you look at the history of Afghanistan, it's not been a united country for most of its history, almost suggesting that he expected some different factions, perhaps the Taliban in places, to take over parts of the country while the Afghan government holds on to other parts. Look, this all remains to be seen, but as a member of the House Armed Services Committee, I'm certainly going to be asking to see contingency plans, so I know that the United States is prepared for any eventuality.
So last question, sir. Also, President was asked about Afghan women achievements, that a lot of Afghan women, and they fear losing their achievements, and some of the women leaders, they feel like betrayed. What is your thoughts about it? How they can be protected?
Well, let me just first say that when you spend time in Afghanistan and get to witness some of the amazing, heroic Afghan women and girls who are going to school, who are taking part in government and society, I mean, it just breaks your heart to think about the Taliban taking over parts of the country and condemning women to essentially a life of servitude. And none of us want to see that happen. The president made it clear that ultimately this is up to the Afghan people and the Afghan government. But I certainly hope that we do whatever we can to support women and girls in Afghanistan and all the progress that they've been able to make with America in the last 20 years.
The Taliban are saying that it will be according to Islamic law, Islamic rules, which they also wanted in the 90s, but we don't know exactly what they are doing. But I forgot to ask you about the neighboring countries, especially Russia. Foreign Minister of Russia, Foreign Minister Lavrov, he says that if Taliban attack the border in Tajikistan, they will protect their allies, which is Tajikistan. At the same time, what are your thoughts about neighboring countries, how they are dealing with the situation in Taliban advancement?
I mean, this is one of the many things that's complicated about Afghanistan. It's in a difficult and volatile region of the world. And so neighboring countries, of course, have a role to play. The president emphasized this in his press conference. He said that that neighboring countries have to be involved in the negotiations and any future peace deal. I think he's right about that. And obviously, we want to see all of Afghanistan's neighbors support a free and democratic country.
I hope so. And also bilateral security agreement is there. And you talk about peace talks. Is it called? It's never happened yet. So do you still believe that peace talks is valid if the Taliban just taking territories and claiming their own leadership?
Well, obviously it makes the situation more difficult, but ultimately peace is what we want. And peace is often achieved through difficult peace talks. I hope that process continues.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.